The Xbox was a success for Microsoft in many ways. The system gave the company a standing in the console market. Microsoft was able to launch the incredibly successful Xbox Live, and started franchises like Halo and Forza that have become a bedrock to Microsoft's first-party lineup. Even with these accomplishments, the Xbox failed to meet many of Microsoft's expectations. The system only sold a fraction of the number of units that Sony's PlayStation 2 managed to push. The Xbox failed to even achieve half of Microsoft's goal of 50 million units sold. The console's high cost to produce and its failure to make an impression on the Japanese gamers hurt Microsoft as well. In total, Microsoft would lose $4 billion on the Xbox. But for many people at Microsoft, that was money well spent as they invested into the Xbox brand. Everything has a story, and in this final part on the story of the Xbox, we'll be discussing the legacy of the console, where Microsoft is today with the Xbox brand, and how the Xbox affected the many people who had a hand in shaping the console. Transitional periods for game consoles don't follow a singular structure. Some manufacturers will keep successful consoles on the market for years after their successor is released. Microsoft opted to pull the original Xbox off shelves after the release of the Xbox 360. The 360 had come out at a perfect time. Sony and Nintendo wouldn't release new home consoles until 2006, a year after the 360 had already came out. Not only did Microsoft gain a head start, but Sony made some major stumbles with the PlayStation 3 early on. A high price point and a lack of strong exclusives helped Microsoft lead the console war in the early years. Microsoft managed to have a lot of early hits for the Xbox 360 that were either exclusive to the console or came to the PlayStation 3 years later. By the late 2000s, the Xbox division at Microsoft had finally become profitable. Microsoft saw more success in 2010 when they released the Xbox 360 Kinect. The Kinect was a motion sensor camera that tapped into the widely popular fad of motion gaming in the late 2000s. In total, Microsoft would sell 84 million Xbox 360s over a decade, and over 20 million Kinects. The 360 wasn't perfect for Microsoft or consumers. Microsoft rushed the production cycle of the Xbox 360 to reach its November 2005 release date. Due to this rushed production cycle, many Xbox 360s would suffer from the infamous Red Ring of Death. The Red Ring of Death would cause many Xbox 360s to overheat and malfunction. Microsoft tried to address the issue by offering an extended warranty on the Xbox 360s, and eventually released an updated slim model. In the end, it's estimated that the Red Ring of Death would cost Microsoft over $1 billion. The failure rate of Xbox 360s was never confirmed by Microsoft, but some estimates peg the failure rate as high as 20% for the early models. Microsoft saw great success with the Xbox 360, but their most recent console, the Xbox One, hasn't been so lucky. A change of leadership at Xbox in the late 2000s would see Don Mattrick, a former EA executive, heading the Xbox division. Under his watch, the Xbox One would launch in 2013. The initial reveal is widely criticized by the gaming community due to vague claims with the console and poor communication. Microsoft has not released sales numbers of the Xbox One, but estimates put the Xbox One at around 40 million units sold after 5 years, roughly half of what Sony has sold with their PlayStation 4 during that same time period. Microsoft backpedaled on many of the early features for the Xbox One, including an always online connectivity, a lack of support for used games, and a required Kinect connection for the Xbox One. Alongside price cuts, Microsoft has tried to turn the tide on their struggling console. The biggest problem for the Xbox One now is a lack of first-party support and other exclusives. Microsoft has tried to make up for the lack of quality titles with new consumer-friendly positions, but it hasn't been enough for the company or the console. Microsoft has continued to support home consoles since the release of the original Xbox, but they have branched out with the Xbox into the world of smartphones, tablets, and personal computers. In many ways, Xbox is less of a console to Microsoft and more of an all-encompassing brand for their various gaming properties. Their most recent edition of Windows, Windows 10, includes applications designed under the Xbox branding. Alongside this branding has been Microsoft's push to have all of their major Xbox exclusives be available on PC as well. Windows 10 includes more nuggets of gaming too. Cortana, the fictional computer program from the Halo series, serves as Windows 10's default assistant. Microsoft's brand has expanded alongside Xbox. While Microsoft isn't the biggest tech company in the world anymore, their expansion into new technologies and hardware can trace its roots to the Xbox. It's entirely possible Microsoft would have never expanded into more hardware markets when they did if it hadn't been for the success of the Xbox brand. The future for Xbox is a murky one. The Xbox One has a few more years on the market, and Microsoft is already planning a new home console under the codename Scarlet. Few details are known about the new system, which could come out as early as 2020, but Microsoft has hinted at multiple versions of the system, leading to the possibility that the next Xbox will be a variety of systems as opposed to a singular box. It's entirely plausible that Microsoft might eventually drop the console entirely and focus exclusively on making Xbox an application for a variety of hardware, or even into a streaming service once technology catches up. Whatever the future of Xbox is, the brand of Xbox is a very strong part of Microsoft. The original Xbox became the starting point for one of gaming's most popular brands, but what happened to the characters that helped craft the console and the story of the system? Many of them have since left Microsoft, and some have even left the gaming industry as a whole. Seamus Blackley, the father of the Xbox, left Microsoft in 2002, being the only one of the console's co-founders to stay with the Xbox division until the launch of the system. Alongside Xbox co-founder Kevin Backus, Seamus Blackley would create Capital Entertainment Group, a company that was meant to serve as a middleman between game developers and publishers. Unfortunately, the company wouldn't last long and shut its doors in 2003. Backus has worked for a variety of companies since his departure from Microsoft in 2001. Currently, he is serving as the Vice President of Entertainment and Game Strategy at Dave & Buster's. Otto Burks and Ted Hayes, the final two co-founders of the Xbox, would leave the Xbox division before the system launched. Both of them would continue to work for Microsoft. Hayes left Microsoft in 2006, and has since worked at Aristocrat Technologies in Las Vegas, Nevada. Burks stayed at Microsoft until 2011. He has since worked at HBO and CA Technologies after leaving Microsoft. Ed Fries, the former head of gaming for Microsoft, left the company in early 2004 and founded his own game studio, FireAnt. FireAnt was acquired by Sony just a few months later. Since then, Fries has served as an advisor and on the board of directors for a variety of gaming and technology companies. Peter Moore left Microsoft in 2007 to become the head of the sports division at EA. Moore would be replaced by Don Mattrick. Moore would become COO of EA in 2011. He left EA and the games industry in 2017, when he became the CEO of the Liverpool Football Club. Bill Gates, the man whose rubber stamp helped create Xbox, has taken on a smaller role at Microsoft over the years. Gates stepped down from running the day-to-day operations at Microsoft in the late 2000s to focus more on his philanthropic work through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Gates still owns a substantial stake in Microsoft and is currently estimated to be the second richest person in the world, with almost $100 billion in assets. The Xbox is a major force that changed video games for the better. Whether it be offering a strong competition to Sony for over a decade and a half now, or introducing big franchises like Halo to the world of gaming, or new and innovative ways of playing video games, Microsoft is a net positive for video games as a whole. Perhaps the most important aspect of the original Xbox was just how seriously Microsoft considered the world of gaming. Microsoft's investment and interest into the gaming world helped legitimize gaming within the business and cultural world for many. Since then, many other major technology companies, including Apple, Google, and Amazon, have made investments into gaming. While I've never considered myself an Xbox fanboy, I do appreciate what Microsoft has done with the Xbox. At the end of the day, the games are truly what matter the most. And the Xbox, Xbox 360, and even the Xbox One offer new and exciting titles that make me proud to be a gamer. That's the story of the Xbox to me. A console that contributed to the advancements of gaming while offering new and fun experiences that weren't available anywhere else. Thank you for watching the story of the Xbox. If you missed any previous parts, be sure to check them out. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and tell me what you would like to see the next story of down in the comments below. Previously, I covered the Nintendo GameCube and Pokemon Gold and Silver, and I'm always looking for new ideas on what games, systems, or events in gaming history I can cover next. Share this video on your favorite social media sites to help this channel grow, and subscribe to catch the next video as soon as it releases. Next time, we'll be taking a look at one of my favorite games of my childhood, Kingdom Hearts. And once again, thank you for watching.